Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Just ticked over 4:30, so we'll commence our meeting, councillors. And firstly, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we meet on and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Housekeeping. If asked to vacate, exit via the door leading out of the building and onto the footpath and await further instructions. Live streaming. This meeting is being streamed live and recorded and made publicly available on the council website. Persons attending or speaking in public forum should refrain from making defamatory comments. Okay, that's that. The next item on the agenda is public forum. And I believe we have a speaker for public forum. And that speaker would be Mr. Paul Young, speaking on item... Nothing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
On item 12.8. Thank you. The rail trail. Thank you. You'll have 5 minutes to speak. I'll give you a little reminder if you get to the 4-minute bell, and that'll let you know you've got a minute left. So over to you.
Just tap it, Paul.
Is that better? Mayor Ingram, councillors, council staff. Initially, I would like to congratulate you all on either being re-elected or the new councillors being elected to the council. First up, I would like to thank the staff for the excellent work that they have done on this recommendation to council. I would like to clarify that one of the major costs in this exercise, should it go ahead, will be the reconstruction of bridges. There's 18 bridges in the rail trail. I know that in the initial report that was done by Birchells, some of those bridges were to be retained. Since then, we have had a second opinion from Structus Engineering, who come out of Albury, and we have come to the conclusion that from a maintenance point of view, it would be better to replace or bypass all of those bridges. The bridge, such as the Taringo Bridge over the Burrawa Creek or Burrawa River, is a fairly major structure. We would plan on building a bypass on the upstream side of it to retain the heritage of the existing bridge. But in the if the consequences of a bad flood came through and the bridge was to get washed down, it wouldn't affect the new bridge, which would be upstream from that. And that's the case. Basically, half the bridges we would plan on replacing and half bypassing. The Garama Road Bridge, for example, I know the middle section of that was taken out by Hilltops Council, Harden Council, some years ago, so that trucks could get underneath. The Birchall plan was to run the rail trail down across the road and then back up. After consultation with Structus Engineering, we were able to go straight over the top of the existing structure to meet the 4.6 metre height that is required by council for truck movements underneath that bridge. Some of the other bridges which would be retained include I'm not sure of the name of it, but it's to the Gaylong side of the cemetery, which is a nice little timber bridge. But once again, we would bypass it, leave the bridge there to retain some of the heritage features of the trail. The bridges that have been designed by Structus have a 50-year lifespan on the concrete decks and a 100-year planned lifespan on the steelwork. So the maintenance from those bridges should be absolutely negligible throughout the period of the 30-year lease which is proposed. I think that pretty much covers the bridges. I'll be brief because the council staff have done such a good job that they've covered all aspects of the rail trail. So the Rail Trail Committee agrees with the recommendation that's proposed. So to date, we've raised about 108,000, which included 25,000 from council. The remaining balance came from the Geelong Progress Association, various businesses in Burrawa, and some also landholders have contributed towards it. So I hope that you will look at this proposal favourably. I think it's going to be a wonderful asset for the area. And it's not only the tourist dollars that will flow in, but the visitations that these rail trails are proving to have in the ones that have been introduced in New South
You've
Wales.
got about a minute left, Paul. Sorry to interrupt me.
Tumbarumba and both the northern rivers have proved exceptionally popular, and the figures are outstanding. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the statement of ethical obligations. So that's taken as read. The next item on our agenda is the expressions of sympathy. So I'd ask everyone to be upstanding, please, when we take a moment's silence for the following. Edward Cunnington, Lionel Cullen, Veronica Graham, Richard Flannery, Susan Pears, Kenneth Robinson, DJN Serick, Peter Burns, Alan Hyde, Jeanette Marshall, Shirley Prest, Michael Lee, Olive Lang, David Shord, Antilla Davidson, Eva Carmody, Robin Butler, Marion Price, Jean Chemsworth, Edith Smith, Beryl Clark, Russell Cope, Elizabeth Powderly, Hazel Flannery, Jeffrey Lemon, Neil Barry, Beryl Dacey, Wendy Glynn, Dennis Brown, Dorothy Rushby, Nancy Sains, Wilma Davidson Snow, Maureen White, Lance Grocott, Betty Levitt, Mari Kerr, Ada Curry, Kenneth Smith, and Beverly Thompson. Thank you, everyone. The next item on our agenda is item 6.1, the confirmation of minutes of the ordinary meeting of council on the 28th of August. And the recommendation is in front of you, councillors. Moved. Councillor Flannery, seconded Councillor Langford. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Next item is 6.2, which is the confirmation of the minutes of the council's extraordinary meeting on the 4th of September. Do I have a mover? Councillor Gallo, seconded by Councillor Flannery. Sorry, Mackie. Sorry, Joe. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. Next item being 6.3, confirmation of the minutes held on the 9th of October 2024. Moved Councillor Blackwell, seconded Councillor Dodd. Thank you. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. The next item on the agenda, item 7, do we have any disclosures of interest? Councillor Blackwell?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I have a conflict of a non-pecuniary interest regarded to item 12.16 due to a close personal relationship of people who are affected by the decision. As such, I will not participate in the debate and will leave the room for the duration of the debate and the vote. 12.16.
12.16. Thank you. Then you fill the paperwork in. Thank you very much, Councillor. Any other disclosures? If not, thank you. Item 8 is mayoral minute. There's no mayoral minutes to report at this meeting. Item 9.1 is the mayoral report for October, which is there in front of you, councillors, with one to be added, which was I did attend the Kite Festival as well. And yes, the Catholic Church is still standing. So, would someone like to move and second that recommendation be accepted? Councillor Flannery, Councillor Gallo, thank you. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Item 10, 10.1, the councillors' meetings attended. Some of them are listed there. I'll go around the table if anyone's got anything else they'd like to add. Councillor Foreman.
I don't have anything to add, just meeting as minuted, but I just, if you don't mind, just like to thank everybody that organised the Boral Wool Fest and the Kite Festival, the Director of Corporate and her team. It was excellent and everybody involved. It was
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Councillor Davis.
I have nothing to add, just the extraordinary meetings and agendas. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Douglas.
Nothing further to add from what's been minuted.
Thank you. Councillor Mackie.
I did attend the Boral breakfast business chamber meeting and also a land care meeting last Thursday night.
Thank you. Councillor Flannery.
Thank you. Meetings as minuted, as well as the Harden Camera Club, View Club, I think it is, opening for their awards night. Gaylong Progress Association, I don't have a date for that. Harden Art Show opening, which was last Friday, must have been the 18th. The Kite Festival. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stadmiller.
Nothing to report, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Blackwell.
Nothing from me, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gallo.
As per the minutes.
Thank you. Councillor Langford.
As per the minutes, but I did have a visit to the Harden Caravan Park and also the Young Swimming Pool.
Thank you. Councillor Dodd.
As listed, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Could I have a move and a second that they be adopted? Councillor Flannery and Councillor Dodd. Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. Takes me to item 11, Community Recognition Scheme. I'm sorry. And we have one, I see, nominated from Councillor Douglas. I'll hand the floor to Councillor Douglas. Page 42. 42.
So the Australia River Restoration Centre held a successful Boral community planting on September 21st. So I wanted to recognise their efforts and the community work that they've been putting through.
Thank you very much for that. I'll put that, and if someone would like to second it, that be Councillor Blackwell. Thank you very much. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors, and thank you, Councillor Douglas. Sorry I spring that on you. You'll get used to that. Normally the next item would be the General Manager's report, but going under 8.2 of our Code of Meeting Practice, I will ask that we alter the order of business as we had a speaker in public forum and our normal duty that we normally bring that item forward for the people who speak in public forum. So if I could have a seconder for that to happen, Councillor Davis, thank you, and a vote on that to bring it forward. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. So we'll go to item 12.8, 8, which is on page 67, I think.
Yes.
Okay, so item 12.8, request from Burrawa Kalong Rail Trail. As the speaker notified, there's been a lot of work done by staff, and I'd like to acknowledge that as well. And before I go further, the recommendation, councillors, which is quite lengthy, so I won't read it. I'll take it as everyone's read the recommendations that we approve the request to endorse the application to Transport for New South Wales, establish a Burrawa Kalong Rail Trail Oversight Committee, as outlined in the report, authorise the application for third-party access licence, submit to Transport for New South Wales the proposed boundary of the proposed leased area. Upon approval by Transport for New South Wales of an area for the rail trail, commence community consultation in accordance with the requirements of the Transport for New South Wales framework. So I didn't read it all, but I read the vast majority that we need to consider, councillors. So do I have a mover of the item? Councillor Flannery moved. Councillor Davis seconded it. Councillor Flannery, would you like to speak to the item?
Thank you. Look, it's as everyone would be no doubt aware, extensive report. I think it covers all the issues that questions have been asked about for months. I'm appreciative of the work staff have done to bring this forward. And there's a lot of work to do still. So it's about setting out the processes involved and the timeline to do it. Well, we're not setting out a timeline, but what needs to be done and how we're going to do it. Look, my comment or a few of the comments. One is, as councillors, my view is we need to grow the assets of this, our council area. And to grow the asset base of our council area, we need to invest. Ultimately, it's dependent on getting grant money, but whether you get grant money is wholly and solely dependent on the work those people do on the committee. It's got to be driven by a committee, and then they've got to prosecute a case to support a project like this to council. And then we've got to put in a submission that convinces government bodies to support it. So establishment of a working party, community consultation, and application of a licence will determine ultimately whether this is successful or not. From there, it lists what the possible costs are to count, or the likely construction costs, which we would be almost wholly dependent on a grant, as I just mentioned, and then the possible costs of maintenance. I will make the comment that, and I don't have it in front of me, but I think it lists off the top of my head $2,270 a kilometre in annual maintenance charges. If I could find one road in the Hilltops Shire that we spend on that annually, one single road, I think it'd be a damn miracle. So I'll bet my bottom dollar we don't have to spend anything like that. Now, it has been one of the issues of conjecture to think that we're going to spend $66,000 on 27 kilometres. I could find plenty of council roads. I reckon we'd be lucky if we spent $5,000 on them annually. So it's good. It's good that they've got there, but the reality is we'll probably do half the maintenance that are required. It'll be kept in a fit and proper state. But again, without wanting to sort of be, kibosh those who are alarmists, I just think we've got to be realists about this. We'll do what's needed to maintain it, but it would be a huge asset to the council area. I think if we can bring in 20,000 visitors to the council area, they'll all have to come through the various towns, Harden, Young and Burrawa, and the purpose of a project like this would be to get them to stop and stay in each of those towns, not to be day trippers. And ultimately, I would like to see this to be the portent for then the rail trail to be extended from Harden through to Young, because I think then you would have an absolutely magnificent project that would bring in a lot of wealth to the Shire. So look, I'm wholly supportive of it and thank staff for the work they've done, but there's still plenty to do.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. Would anyone like to speak against the recommendation?
I would just like to
Councillor
make a comment,
Pullman.
if that's okay. Look, I do have concerns regarding how do you think the council's going to handle the resources to actually deliver the program? Do you think we have the resources for that, or?
Yeah, through the Mayor, Councillor Foreman, I don't believe we have the resources to do all the work internally, but we would have to look at that, and maybe as part of the funding, we could look at that as well, like a project manager.
Okay, and then as far as the like applying for the funds to actually fund the rail trail, like how, looking at this, I know it's hard to tell, but we'd have to make sure that we had a business case ready. Do you think before we even start to apply for funds, which council would be responsible for presenting, which would then sort of come back to council before we applied for any funding?
Through the Mayor, we would have to see if we can use the current development plan that's already been done, because that's for that purpose. I do have Donna O'Brien, our property manager, online. Donna, do you have any comment on that? Sorry, Donna, you're just muted.
Sorry about that. We could use the current plans. They could be updated quite easily. The brilliant thing about the way that the framework has been set is that nothing is set and nothing's entered into by council until the grant funding is approved. So you'll find that most applications for funding aren't going to expect a hell of a lot of money to have been spent prior to the funding being granted. I think it could be worked, yes.
Thank you for that. Does anyone else like to speak for the recommendation? Councillor Blackwell?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whilst I do have some concerns about the overall project, I think this is a good first step in getting some of the answers to my concerns. I think this motion and the project is ultimately one that will benefit Boorowa and the broader Hilltops. So I'm happy to support the motion as it exists.
Thank you. No one wants to speak against? Councillor Douglas.
I just have a question. So is council, by endorsing this, committing to funding, committing to cost before funding or grant funding is provided? So are we putting the horse before the cart?
No, we wouldn't be committing to funding. The project would only go ahead should we receive
grant funding.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. My understanding is that there will be a cost to council initially, because just going on the reports that's been presented to us, it didn't fly out of the sky. A staff member had to put that report together. So there's costs involved with it, and there'll be costs involved with more consultation as we go along, and costs at each step. They're costs that happen in a number of projects, and then it's up to the big ask for the big numbers if we get that far. So that's my understanding of costs involved. So we've had speakers for and against the recommendation and questions asked. So now I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Oh, sorry, Councillor Flannery would like his right to reply, I'd imagine. Before I do that, Ringrose, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, just to reiterate that, what I said earlier, of course there'll be cost to council in overseeing the committee, putting in the application. There's going to be cost to council. There was cost to council in putting all the applications in we did last year for grants. I think we failed on all of them, so nothing new there.
Don't digress, please, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like I didn't say Madam Mayor. But look, I really believe it's a worthwhile investment, and you've got to spend a buck to make a buck. And I think that's the message here. One thing we are good at is roads and road building, so perhaps we'll get contractors to build it, but I'd like to think we can run our trucks and graders down there. But if you look at what we spend on parks and gardens, libraries, swimming pools, they're all loss-making ventures. but and I doubt to council, but they're a service. I doubt any of them bring in anything like the numbers that's proposed here to the, and you've got to think if people from outside are spending their money in this community, it's a good thing. And I know there are numerous members of a young cycle club who do annual trips to Tasmania, New Zealand, and they spend thousands of dollars per trip to bike tracks, to bike trails. So I commend the recommendation. Just a question. Are we setting up the committee as a separate for you, Mr. Mayor?
I might flick to the General Manager. It's part of the conditions in the recommendation that establish a Burrawa Gaylong Rail Trail Oversight Committee. I don't imagine that will be done at this particular time. It would be dealt with separately, I'd imagine.
Look, it can be dealt with separately. It is, the committee is to appoint a councillor representative, that's us, but
Yes. Mr. Mayor, we would be looking at bringing a further report back to council with the terms of reference and things like that. For the
Can I just, I don't think it needs an amendment, but can that come back to the next meeting for the establishment of that committee if this should get up?
Yep. Okay, thank you for that. So we had enough debate about that. All those in favour of the recommendation? Against? Councillor Langford. Thank you. That takes us to item back. Actually, councillors, back to page 42, to the General Manager's report, I believe. Yep. You might just note Councillor Flannery's had to excuse himself for a moment. Thank you. So the General Manager's report. The General Manager's report, 12.1, executive meetings attended. Councillors, they're all listed there for you. There's no questions to be asked on that, so it's just a matter of having that knowledge that's been passed on to you. So could I have a mover and a second to be recommended? Councillor Stadmill, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Davis, thank you. All those in favour? Unanimous with Councillor Flannery absent. Thank you. Next item is 12.2, the presentation of the audited financial statements for the year ending 30 June 2024. The recommendation, councillors, is in accordance with the Local Government Act 1993 and the Local Government General Regulation 2005, council adopt the annual financial statements for the year ending 30 June 2024, including the independent auditor's report. To start off, to have a mover, please. Councillor Stadmiller, Councillor Davis, second. Thank you. Would Councillor Stadmiller like to speak to the item? No, you're fine.
Just very briefly, Mr. Mayor, we're on a similar trajectory, as to previous years, and hopefully we can just rein in the budget, as I think has been discussed previously, and see an improvement as we go.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stadmiller. Councillor Flannery has now re-entered the chamber. Has anyone got any questions to the Chief Financial Officer who's ready to take on questions? I'd imagine there'll be a couple of questions. Let me know. If there's no questions for the Chief Financial Officer, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. Next item. How easy was that, Chief Financial Officer? 12.3.
You asked me to make a comment, Mr. Mayor.
So, Mr. Mayor, I just want to say this is the first time Hilltops have achieved the regulatory requirement to lodge the accounts. We'll now be able to lodge the accounts by the 31st of October for the first time.
And that's great, but I consider that normal business, so thank you. Item 12.3, cash investment and unrestricted cash reports. First one is for the 31st of August 2024. So these are dated twice because of the election and we've had a miss. So the recommendation is there. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Douglas, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Blackwell, thank you. Any questions on that particular one?
I better just make sure I've got the correct page.
Page 48?
Yeah, page 49.
Yep.
I think it's just a typo, but the box lists total cash investments as 67,489,000. The summary table below that and I'm pretty sure I've got the same dates listed at 64,490,000.
Sorry, Councillor, can I just repeat that again? Which
Two,
report? The August or the September?
August, page 49.
Right.
the two totals differ. I assume it's just a typo. Can you tally the
Chief Financial Officer, the total is 67,489 for the
Okay.
cash position.
Yes.
Total cash investments state 64,490.
when you add the table, the spreadsheet table, it adds to 67,489,000, but then below it
does,
says
yeah. Yep. I'll correct that. Yes, it does. I'll just highlight through you, Mr. Mayor, that the unrestricted cash are now quite healthy, but obviously during the year, as projects come online, we've got a lot of money at 30th of June, in the last week. Obviously, that cash will get used.
Thank you.
I'm glad you said that, because with so many new councillors in the room, I was a bit concerned they might start rubbing their hands quickly and they had projects lined up.
Okay. We had a mover and a seconder. Question asked. So all those in favour of receiving that report with that amendment to those maths?
Yep.
It's unanimous. Thank you. Item 12.4. Cash investment, unrestricted cash at 30 September, and those two numbers actually blend together now. So the recommendation is the same. Do I have a mover and a seconder?
So moved.
Moved Councillor Flannery, seconded Councillor Mackie. Thank you.
Can I just a question through you, Mr. Mayor?
Question.
The table, so loan repayment schedule. I gather the loan repayment schedules are just the payments that come up in that month.
That is correct. Yeah, that was what was moved by council probably about 12 months ago now.
So if it's a quarterly payment, it only appears.
It's only
Quarterly,
the
it's
movement in
monthly.
that month.
Yep,
Yeah.
thank you.
I have
In the financial statements, if I can just add, Mr. Mayor, in the financial statements, the whole details there of all the accounts.
Thank you. I have a question in regard to the term deposits that would have clicked over in the last month, and just in relation to the interest rate that we're now receiving. There's one on the 19th of October, one the 21st of October, one the 11th of October, and one on the 22nd of October. So I was just wondering, they've been rolled over and what interest rate they're at now?
They have, Mr. Mayor. The two NAB ones, the one on the 11th of October has been rolled over at 5.02%. So obviously you'll see that in the next report.
Yep.
And that's for the 11th of April, 25. The 22nd of October one for NAB again at 5%. You'll notice they're just slightly lower. It's the current market. That's due on the 19th of February 25. The two St George ones are a bit lower because there's a limit to what NAB, we obviously spread these investments out. The St George one at 19th of October to the 19th of July, that's only at 4.7. And the St George one on the 21st was rolled over again to the 21st of April, 6 months at 4.32. So slightly lower than the NAB rate, but we do have a lot with NAB. We do, financial accountant does ring around. We might ring CBA and try and get higher rates, of course, all the time.
Yeah, I understand we've got certain commitments, but yeah, we're getting under 4.32. It's a disappointing interest rate when you can pick up anything for 5%, but thank you for that. Okay, so that's my question on it. If we've got no further questions, I'll put the item. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Takes us to item 12.5, outstanding rates and charges and sundry debtors report. And the recommendation is to receive and note the report. Could I have a mover and a seconder first? Councillor Blackwell moved. Councillor Davis seconded. Got any questions on this item, councillors? Well, in that case, I'll put it. All those in favour? All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Takes us to item 12.7, which is an update on information systems status, October 2024.
Mr. Mayor, 12 points. We had two reports.
Sorry, councillors.
Page 59.
So I'm told we've got two reports for 12.6.
Yes, the
And there was the
12.5,
August and then September.
August and then September.
My apologies. Cash investment. Cash investment. Item 12.6. Outstanding rates and charge and sundry debtors report. Receive and note the report. Could I have a mover and a second for that one? Councillor Flannery. Councillor Blackwell seconded. Thank you. If there's no questions, I'll put that one to the floor. All in favour? Unanimous, and thank you, councillors, and I'm sorry that I clicked over a page. My apologies to all. Item 12.7, Information Systems Status, October 2024. A report is there. The recommendation is to receive and note the report. Do I have a mover? Councillor Blackwell, seconder. Councillor Flannery.
Few questions.
Would Councillor Blackwell first like to... No, you're fine, thank you. There's a second to Councillor Flannery.
Could, for the benefit of the new councillors, well, and I have missed all the, or not attended is probably a better word, have, as a summary, been given of Technology One and the systems report?
I'm through you, Mr. Mayor. No, not specifically.
Look, it might be prudent for the CFO to provide a quick summary of why this report's here and what we're trying to achieve.
Thank you.
Certainly through you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Flannery, yes. There's been limited work done in the last couple of months because I've noted in a couple of spots there that we've been concentrating on the financial statements. So we've not progressed that much in the last couple of months. The report writing has continued internally, and we're doing that for the financial improvement strategy reporting. The other thing is what we mostly did internally on these things like the revenue module and the supplier portal is we actually did end of year training. So some of this stuff was training across the revenue with the rates in terms of closing rates. Some of it was actually the budget model. So we actually did internal training on the budget model. The contracts model has yet to be progressed again after now that the statements are out of the road, and the supplier portal we're going to basically continue with the contracts module and the supplier portal, which are pretty big developments actually. So there's been limited there. We're then also doing further report writing with Tech One, and we do that out of the AMS, the support budget, so it doesn't cost us anything. We do that out of our support budget. And the report writing that we'll be doing more advanced training on actually extends across infrastructure, corporate and finance. So that's actually to start developing getting better at the report writing, being able to drag reports out of the system such as you might require for financial improvement strategy. So things like the budget preparation year end there, again, we did that at the end of 24-25. So, but there hasn't been I haven't been able to direct the resources to further and all these other things are out of the road. So we'll be going back to the contracts module, the supplier portal and the accounts payable. Now that I've got that out of the road. Also, the other worry was with me making that planning was what we could actually start and deliver before Christmas because of issues with Tech One and so forth, and then getting technical support staff. So I've been trying to plan that as well. On the basis we're going to finish the statements at the end of October, but I've been trying to plan that as well. So that's been on my agenda as well. I don't want to have stuff when we get literally a 4 to 6 week gap from December, mid-December to late January. I don't want to have a gap there where suddenly we're then restarting up a project. So that's the strategy I use.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Look, for the benefit of the new councillors, the information system is a Technology One accounting software we use where all the inputs, all the cost centres operate out of this information system. So road work, library, any works council staff tend to is fed into Tech One, and then it's meant to produce a whole lot of reports on costs, on the costings of each centre, I guess. So there's a whole lot of modules there we use. It's been onerous. When we purchased it, no one knew how to use it, and there's still only a limited number of staff that know how to use it, but we are told it's improving, and the monthly reports are a summary of where that's all up to. I suggest you ask as many questions as you can about it, or if you're trying to find out information on finances and whatnot, this is where it's all meant to come from.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery.
Can I just ask a couple of questions?
You may.
Under the report writing, it notes that the General Manager has been advised by the Office of Local Government the review of the QBR report is in progress by ALG. Is that specific to us, or is that a new action item by OLG generally across all? Is there a reason why that? I mean, I've got a number of questions why that statement's in.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the reason that statement's in there is there was some discussion about the utility of the quarterly budget review as it's currently presented, which is obviously driven by report writing within Technology One. Now, I raised that is that it's indicated from the Office of Local Government they want to harmonise that across the local government across New South Wales. So rather than expend a lot of work on that particular report, I'm just alerting as in the decision will most likely be taken out of our hands and what we have to produce. I'd rather spend time on meeting the criteria that we're obligated to, and then we can build from there for anything additional or otherwise. Thank you.
Okay. It notes under the item 2 revenue modules, the revenue year and business revenue year and business process was updated and completed in September 24. This was a complex process where training is being extended to other staff. Why? Well, why was it a complex process? And then under contracts module, it says rates and sundry debtors and records. The grant system will be an integrated. As of September 2024, the grant system will be integrated. Could you explain why the revenue module is so complex and why we're integrating the grant system with the sundry debtors system and record?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the property and rating system, which includes our general rates and water rates, is a complex system. It's not straightforward. Within Tech One, we've actually done training. I've got 2 new staff in that area as well over the last 2 months. So we're cross-training staff as well, and that's about to kick off. I met with the team today. The contracts module, the link there is with the sundry debtors module. So the sundry debtors are sitting in Tech One in the financial system. The contracts module will then merge to that. So if there's issues around charges such as leases, licenses, we just are able to actually integrate that information straight through rather than actually getting a spreadsheet, getting the report and then re-entering the information. So that's the intention of that. So that'll be a big advancement, the contract module, the development of that. But it's also the fundamental contracts that we're also entering into in Tech One, or entering to the organisation, will go into, we're going to update them in Tech One. Those that are linked to the revenue module, such as sundry debtors, there'll be an automatic link. That's not existed now.
Was the expectation when we started utilising Technology One that it would be an integrated process and that it would make things more efficient?
No, sorry, yes, Mr. Mayor again. No, this is a total new concept that we've been actually shopping around with other councils to see what they're doing. This was not, to my knowledge, not envisaged when Tech One was put in.
Thank you. Under item 7, budget preparation and year-end processes, it says this will assist the update of the 24-25 financial year. Training was provided for the rollover of the financial system in 23-24 to the 24-25. Given we've been operating Technology One for 8 years, how did we roll the system over before?
With the assistance of Technology One. So now we've actually had staff internally trained. And in fact, we just rolled over 23-24 to 24-25 in the last week. So that was actually assistance that we had needed to get off Technology One in the past.
And we've done it internally.
Now we're doing it internally.
Thank you.
Well, the financial accountant, management accountant, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery, and thank you, Chief Financial Officer, for those responses. If we have no more questions, I'll put the recommendation, receive and note the information. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. That takes me to item 12.9, Financial Improvement Strategy. The report again is there, councillors, and the recommendation is to receive and note the information. I have a mover and a seconder to start with. Thank you, Councillor Gallo. Seconded by Councillor Davis. Thank you. Anyone have any questions on this, or would you like, maybe I might just throw to the director just to give a brief, quick, short overview of what those 6 steps were. I know we did it in the workshop, I believe. So if you just explain that for the sake of councillors, new councillors?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, so through you, Madam Mayor, sorry, Mr. Mayor, Sorry.
Someone had to.
Someone had to.
Someone had to. Thank you.
Thank you. I've done that for the team. Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Sorry. Yeah, it's a very costly one. So on page 424,
I've been called much worse.
there are 6 work streams that came out of a resolution the council made in February 2024, which is after we considered a special rate variation. That was abandoned in favour of pursuing a financial improvement strategy, which puts in the foundations of a well-functioning, sustainable organisation going forward. Those 6 work streams are asset recycling, so it's looking at our current asset base and whether it's fit for purpose to meet future levels of service expectations from our community. Service level cost, which is about understanding how much it costs to deliver our services at a granular level. A service catalogue, so that we can tell the community what level of service we provide them and what they can expect from council. User pays and cost recovery, which is about ensuring that we fairly allocate the cost of our services between ratepayers and individuals who receive direct benefit from our services. Additional revenue streams, which is exploring options to generate more income from the services that we provide, and then internal efficiencies, which is around ensuring that we're working smart as an organisation internally.
Thank you very much for that, Director. Appreciate it. So there we go. If there's no questions on that, I'll put that to the
Just one
chamber.
question, Mr.
Councillor
Mayor.
Stadmiller.
Question for the Director. When it comes to asset recycling, do we have a list for councillors at this stage where we can ascertain what we can recycle and what we can't?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, what we have at the moment is, if you go to page 424, we've got a work stream plan, and what that involves at the moment and what you have is a current as is record of our current asset base, and there's one last assets class, which is around infrastructure that we're getting valuations on now. The next step is to align that with the legal status of our properties. So there's property that's either for community or for operational. If we're looking to recycle assets, they need to be in the operational category, which means we will need to do some work to change that category status over via an LEP amendment. And then you need to go through the process of looking at those assets against your levels of service that you agree. So there's some steps to go, but we're on the right path.
Thank you very much for that.
One more,
Councillor
please.
Stadmiller.
So we actually don't have a list of properties or pieces of land that councillors can view at this stage?
We have a list and we circulated that about 4 months ago.
Can I please receive a copy of that, if that's all right?
Yes.
I may have been missed.
Yeah, my understanding was the last time we had the list, we just had to make sure if they're operational community land. That's correct. Thank you. On that note, I'll put that item.
Mr. Mayor,
Councillor Backwell.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Sorry to keep it hold up. Just a question. So you mentioned obviously service levels in terms of setting acceptable service levels. That raises the possibility potentially that some services may be reduced slightly to be a more financially viable, more streamlined. Would my understanding there be correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is indeed correct, but it's a process that you drive. So in this paper, you actually have the process by which we evaluate that. So if you go to page 430, there's a table. So what we're going to do, just very briefly, is we know what our current status is. We've got a minimum level, which is our statutory minimum requirement. That's the absolute lowest. And then you have an intermediate, which will be some point between the two. And then you have an option of exploring where you should expand your service. And you would base that on the work that we're doing through a Hilltops resident satisfaction survey. Let the community tell you where we're not meeting their expectations. So we'll populate these tables, bring them to you, and give you the choice as to whether the current service is okay or whether you want to adjust.
Thank you for that, Director.
Sorry, if I could go one more through you, Mr. Mayor. Is there an expected timetable on that kind of work? Just in rough terms, not down to the day, of course.
So where we are is that the first phase of the financial improvements is about essentially surfacing what we know now. We've almost completed that. We're going to be coming to you in December to actually outline a program, and we want your endorsement of whether that speed is adequate for what we want to go this term.
Thank you very much for that. I'd only make one comment on that, and there's one thing I can guarantee everyone from this councillors and mayor's point of view, there'll be no reduction in any services until complete community consultation has been done. Thank you. All those in favour of receive and note that information? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. We move on now to 12.10, to an amended report. All councillors aware of the amended report that's there for a road naming for a new road in subdivision at Rockdale Road, Young. The recommendation in front of you is to refuse the proposed road name Tanner Avenue for the following reasons. The road does not comply with the requirements of New South Wales Geographical Names Board placing naming policy, and the road name does not comply with the Hilltops Council place naming policy. B point, endorse the road name of Taringo Place for public exhibition. And C, proceed with the finalisation of Taringo Place, the New South Wales Geographical Names Board, etc., etc. Do I have a mover? Councillor Douglas, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Dodd, thank you. Any questions in regard to this report? If not, all those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Takes me to 12.11. More road naming for 2 new roads in subdivision and Hill Streets, Young. The recommendation that council endorse the proposed names of Armstrong Street and Kinsley Place for exhibition and proceed with the finalisation of these road names, etc. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Move, Councillor Foreman, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Flannery.
Question.
Question, Councillor Stadmiller.
Just a question the Mayor or the General Manager might be able to answer. Does the Armstrong Street mentioned here have a relationship to a former councillor as in Greg Armstrong?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no.
No, not in the report, no.
Thank you.
Moves. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you, councillors. Item 12.12 is the Copperbella Wind Farm Voluntary Planning Agreement, and the recommendation, councillors, is there in front of you. Place the planning agreement based on the terms as outlined in the draft voluntary planning agreement. Attachment 1.
So move with the question.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. It's moved. I've got a seconder. Councillor Foreman, thank you. Councillor Flannery, question.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I don't support this going on public exhibition, and it wasn't clear to me. We've asked question, well, as a bit of background, there was an application from memory for 78 wind turbines to be built, or 83, and they were something like 2.2 megawatt turbines, and then it has been, there was an amended DA that went in for it to be 65 turbines of 3 megawatts or thereabouts. This is purely off my memory, and it says here, but there was no change to the amount of money we were to receive as a result. So you'll note that it's on a per turbine basis, not a per megawatt basis. So it effectively meant we were receiving less money for an increased output, which I asked for to be sent back at the time, and it came back that we couldn't amend the VPA. But could the director advise if we don't support putting it out at this rate, because I noticed there's a VPA component. Well, not there. It clearly is. It's now a VPA. What ability do we have to negotiate on this? Because they can't start generation until we finalise the VPA.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, you're indeed correct, Councillor Flannery. Unfortunately, we are utterly snookered because this was a state significant development that was approved by the department back in 2016. They set the quantum, they set every mechanism in terms of inflation adjustment, and we back in 2018 we tried to negotiate, and what the applicant did at that point in time was set up that voluntary fund of $100,000 in addition, and they are willing to go no further. They have no obligation to. It is in front of us. They are dependent on us to approve it so they can start construction, but we have no mechanism because it was never our decision and so we're stuck with what we've got.
Two questions. The 100,000, that's not an annual, that's a once-off
Through you, Mr. Mayor,
quantum?
no, it is an annual amount, but it doesn't apply the same way as the VPAs. So that 100,000 that's inflation adjusted, is for both us and Yes, even though the vast majority of the turbines sit with us. It's absolutely the discretion of Goldwind where that money is distributed and isn't part of the Community Enhancement Fund committee that would be set up. It's separate to that.
So how would that, I mean, if they chose to use that on upgrading the roads internally, are there any conditions on the use of that 100,000?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, it is. It is tied to community activity and is tied to applications from the community to Goldwind.
So it's a direct application to Goldwind. So can council be an applicant to that, do you know, or?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I need to take that one on notice.
If we vote not to put it on public exhibition, what happens?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm uncertain, to be quite frank. I think we'd be having Goldwind obviously be very concerned because they've entered into this process. They are in the box seat because this quantum was agreed back in 2016, and all they're doing is bringing that to us to fruition. Yeah, well, I'm not quite sure where we go after that.
Thank you for that, Director. My take just on that is that, and I think I said it at the workshop, was that while it may have worked a bit in their favour with this funding, it is money from heaven. Even if we think it should be a bit more. The $100,000 per annum is there every year, and the other money can be put to good use. So I guess I'm speaking in favour of the recommendation to go ahead with it, because I think not to would put us in a spot that we don't really need to be in. Anyone else would like to speak for the recommendation? Councillor Dodd.
I have a question, please.
Question?
Through you, General Manager. In the agreement, it says about the committee, it talks about the committee, and I thought there was previous discussion about having a councillor and a council staff member on another committee, and there was an issue with that, but it's in this one as well. Oh, a page, one page.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, so indeed there will be a community committee, community enhancement committee, and there will be a staff member tied to that to support it. And we will also appoint a councillor. We've done that with the Bango and the Rye Park wind farms as well.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the only time we can do that is once the plan agreement has been signed.
We don't do it now.
It's been approved, so we signed, and then we bring it back to you and say, who would you like to be on it?
But the voting, because wasn't there an issue, it may have been with the limestone one, that it was about people being able to vote on that?
Yes, so through you, Mr. Mayor. So yes, indeed, we've just been through a process of clarifying the Gaylong mine VPA, where we essentially put a bracket around the staff member to make it abundantly clear that they had no vote, they were a non-voting member. So, yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments? Sorry, Councillor Dodd, I thought you were answered.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Yes, but so should we put that in this one if we've gone through that whole process with the other one? And put that in bracket
it will be done after the documents. Am I correct? It will be done once we sign.
I was not aware. I thought there was no staff to vote on any of these, but if it says that, we would amend that. But
the committee, 6.2, the committee will comprise the mayor or councillor delegate, the general manager or delegate of the council. And I couldn't see where it said the functions were determining the form of applications and making recommendations to the council. So it's not clear that they're not vote if they're voting or non-voting.
I believe
the director seems to have an answer ready for that.
Yeah. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think it would be prudent to amend this to put brackets of non-voting member after 6.2 B2 for the avoidance of doubt.
So I'm understanding we've got an amendment to the document, not to the recommendation. Am I correct?
It would have to be.
Well, the VPA's got to go back to
Through you, Mr. Mayor, because we are saying if we get no submissions, that the general manager is the delegated authority to execute, we need to make that amendment tonight so that it goes through.
Well, then I'll move for we defer this matter. Seconded by Councillor Flannery. Because of the complications that's involved in this, and it's just getting messy and we're going around the room, let's defer this till next month and the report can come back worded as it should be and we can make a decision on that basis. All those in favour of deferral? Against? It's carried. Thank you. The matter will be deferred to next month. That takes us to item 12.13. Development application stats for September 2024. The reports there and the recommendation is we receive and note the status reports for development applications. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Move, Councillor. Move with a question. No. Seconder. Councillor Douglas. Councillor Blackwell has a question. Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of questions, but we'll go one at a time. Why is it that so many of our DAs are going beyond the 41-day mark on the graph on page 472?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, it is a function of a whole heap of factors. So we've had a surge in the number of applications since post-COVID. There is a dearth of planners in the sector, so the sector is under-resourced. We had changes in legislation that meant that assessment complexity got harder since 2021, and we now have a planning portal that was enforced, which has changed how much time is spent servicing that and the way that we engage with applicants. What that means is that as a sector across New South Wales, there was a huge uptick in assessment time that happened back in 2022, and it actually has led this year to the Planning Minister releasing a ministerial statement of expectations order that has now set new delivery targets for all councils. So what we're experiencing here is no different from any other council. And just to say that in terms of our targets, we are slightly under what the minister expects for us in this current financial year.
Thank you for that, Director.
Another question from me, Mr. Mayor, if that's okay. Just if you could explain my net average processing time. Is that taking how long it takes us and taking away how long it takes the customer to get back to us?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, there used to be a performance assessment framework which factored out essentially the time that was out of our hands. So the time that we put a DA on stop the clock and have asked the applicant to go and find more information, because it's not our doing. The applicant needs to put all the information in, because the department runs a thing called assessment ready is their mantra. That their timetable was based on their assumption that every application is going in the system with all the information that's required, so that for staff it should just be a tick and flick kind of exercise. So that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah. If I could just clarify on that, just to get my head around the math a bit. Are you just to give a hypothetical? If it takes us 80 days and the customer 40 days, are we saying in that scenario our net time is 80 or 40 in that number?
So it's our net time is only our time spent as officers.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Director. And it's a shame you missed the workshop the other day that the Director gave a thorough explanation to all other councillors on that day, so it's a bit of a shame. But I've had a mover and a seconder. Do I have any other questions? Councillor Gallo.
Can I just ask the question? One of the DAs was for the circus that came through in September. Now the circus.
Excuse me, Councillor Gallo, can you just point me what?
Oh, sorry.
Is? So, and the number of the DA that would. Be
DA.
Of page first, if that would be helpful.
Oh, sorry, 478.
Thank you.
DA 2024-0135.
Yes.
Under assessment, the circus has been and gone. So does that mean they were never issued a DA to have the circus?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, this is a point in time, and this was to the end of September. So, and there's sometimes a lag in our system in terms of the reporting.
Oh, okay, because it
Yep.
was the 21st, 22nd of September.
Yes, sometimes this can be a lag in the reporting. Yep.
Thank you, Director. If there's no other questions in regard to that matter, I'll put it, all those, oh, sorry, Councillor Flannery.
Oh, look, just
on the desk.
to comment, thank you, Mr Mayor. Although as outlined, the net processing time is the one that we need to deal with, but the Minister probably needs to speak to many of his own departments, because often they're the ones that hold things up the most. But having said that, I do believe the biggest complaints we get, or I get as councillors, is roads and then how long it takes to get DAs. So I think it still needs to be a centre of excellence and something that we should aim for best practice in.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. Okay, I'll put item 12.13. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. 12.14 is a DA for a dwelling house and storage shed at 34 Tiedemann Place, Young. The recommendation is there to grant consent to that development application. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved, Councillor Flannery. Seconded, Councillor Langford. Councillor Flannery, do you any comment in regard to this matter, or?
No, look, I think it's just common sense that it be brought to council and that staff have recommended for its approval.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak against? Councillor Douglas.
I would. Oh, so I've got a question for you, Director. So in the original development application for this, was it a condition that this tree that they're proposing to remove be kept?
So through you, Mr Mayor, yes, I understand that was the case. Yep.
Okay, so I take that by moving this, the tree's going to be removed, and staff have still recommended to grant consent. So there we go. Anyone else want to speak for or against the matter? If not, I'll put the item. All those in favour? Against? Councillor Douglas recorded against. Thank you, councillors. I nearly broke my own rule. I was going to comment on an item that's been dealt with. I won't. Item 12.15 is another DA subdivision at 20 Normans Road, Young. And the report and the recommendation by staff is that we grant consent to that development application. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved, Councillor Stadmiller, seconded, Councillor Blackwell. Any comments or speak to it? If not, everyone's happy, I'll put that. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. 12.16. Councillor Blackwell's leaving the room. Item 12.16 is another DA because of conflict of interest. Thank you, councillor. I do page 576. As for DA, council has left us, service station additions, truck canopy, etc. at Marsden Street, Boorowa, and the recommendation is to grant consent. That moved, Councillor Foreman. Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Stadmiller. Any questions or talk about that? Councillor Foreman, would you like to speak?
Would you mind just me asking, why has this come to council?
So through you, Mr Mayor, this is the classic, you've received 4 submissions, and because of that, it's in front of you. The applicant has done everything to comply with the planning controls and even adjusted their proposal to respond to submissions. So if it wasn't for that requirement, it wouldn't be in front of you.
Thank you for that. On that note, I'll put the item. All those in favour? Thank you. It's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. We'll just get councillor. Yep, he's got him. He's got it. He's right. Oh, it's the button. He's locked out now. Yeah. Next item on the agenda, councillors, is 12.17. 759 is a secondary dwelling and garage at 33 Back Creek Road. The report's there. The recommendation is also to grant consent to this development. Do we have a mover? Councillor Douglas, thank you. seconded by Councillor Davis. Thank you. Anyone like to speak to this, for, against? If not, I'll put the item. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. So I've got 1217 and then I've got 1217A. Is that correct? I'm right? Yep. Okay. Is also a DA for replacement shed at 34 Forsyth Avenue, Young. The report and the recommendation once again is from staff. Very favourable. Is to grant consent. Do I have a mover and a second? Moved Councillor Foreman. Seconded Councillor Gallo. Any comments or speak against? For? If not, I'll put this. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. We move along to 1218. And this is the Gaylong VPA Capital Works Road Projects 2425.
So moved with the comment.
And the recommendation has been moved by Councillor Flannery with a question and with second by Councillor Dodd. Thank you. Councillor Flannery with a question.
Question through you, Mr. Mayor. If additional work were to be, to the director, if additional work were to be required on Ryan Street, and the council were to stick within the budget, does the director have the ability to cut back some of the work on Limestone Way, for example, to cover additional work? And I make that because I think it's I asked the question because it's estimated that 50% of Ryden Street be upgraded or be resealed, and my view is, and it's I think it's the view of the locals, that about 70% is in need of an upgrade. So what ability does the director have to move within those limits?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Flannery is correct. His estimate of about 70% is consistent with council staff. The proposal for about 50%, which is the recommended allocation, is based on doing the most urgent works on Ryan Street this year and then some further work in the next financial year. The additional work that Councillor Flannery is referring to is estimated to cost about $80,000 extra. So if that were to be undertaken in this financial year, my understanding is that council would need to resolve to do so, rather than staff reallocating from the Limestone Way work.
Thank you for that. Question asked and answered. So
thank you. Given this is BPA money, there should be or will be budgetary money available next year to carry out the additional work.
Yes, that's correct.
thank you for that. Does anyone else have any questions before I put that item? No, I'll put that item. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. 1219. Harden to Burwa Pipeline Project update, and the recommendation there is to receive and note the report, to rescind Resolution 24283 to undertake a biodiversity assessment report, and C, proceed to detailed design of the Harden to Burwa pipeline using existing funding. Do I have a mover?
Moved.
Sorry, who said moved? Said Councillor Backwell. Sorry. Second, it was Councillor Foreman, I think. Bear with me, right. Okay. Thank you for that. Now, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you.
The recommendation, Councillor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, biodiversity is something very important to the council and to the region. My understanding, and the director can correct me if I'm wrong on that, is that this report of the biodiversity assessment report is obviously optional. It's not something we are required to do for this project. And if we are to undertake it at the moment, we will not be able to continue with funding to push forward the Burwa water pipeline, which will inevitably result in a delay to the project. And as someone who has to drink Burwa town water, that delay to me is entirely untenable, and it is for most of the residents of Burwa. So I would very much support the recommendation and note that the BAR can be undertaken in the future if we do get grant funding beyond the detailed design stage. So I would urge councillors to support the motion because it's any delay to this project is unconscionable for the people of Boorowa who have to continue to drink the water that we have. Thank you.
No wonder it was a yes to move. Thank you, councillor. Yeah, I understand your frustration. We all share your frustration. You don't have to be in Boorowa to share the frustration about this project, but thank you very much for that. Does anyone like to speak against the recommendation?
I've just got a question. It says in the report, page 839, a species impact statement is an alternative process involving negotiation with the New South Wales Department. Are we doing, if we don't conduct a BDAR assessment, will we be doing a species impact statement?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, a species impact statement is also something that is not triggered by the project. So again, that would be an optional thing.
No, the question was, will we be doing one?
So it's not proposed to be done at this stage.
Is there time, what is involved in a species impact statement and what's the approximate timelines? I mean, it's been put in the report, I assume, for a reason.
So more, it was put in the report to explain to councillors the process that you undertake if that requirement is triggered, and as context to why a BDAR is not required for this type of project. If we were to have a significant impact on threatened species or endangered ecological communities or their habitats, then we could either do a BDAR or a species impact statement. Sorry.
So that would be down the track.
Yes, if that determination was made down the track.
Thank you for those answers. Councillor Stadmiller's got a question.
Yep, just a question for the director. Can we please get a detailed design of where the pipeline proposal actually is going at the moment, whether it's sort of going along the road reserve for so many kilometres into farmland and so forth? Because all we get is that sort of blurry green map that it's low quality, you blow it up, you can't see a thing. So possibly to be getting something much more detailed.
Yes, of course. So where the project is at the moment is that information, the review of environmental factors and the concept design, which shows it to that level of detail, is currently being reviewed and finalised. We needed to resolve the BDAR question before we could finalise them because that obviously affects the REF and potentially the design itself. So that will be released very soon.
Any sort of time frame on that, or?
My understanding is it should be in the next few weeks. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Mr. Mayor, can I move an amendment which may be accepted by the proposer? That point D be added, that a species impact statement be considered by council if budgetary allowance, if sufficient funds are available and the time frame permits one.
We'll just wait, councillors, till we get the wording up, make sure the wording's right before we go anywhere with it. So, Councillor Flannery, is that what your amendment would be? And we're not finished yet, sorry.
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask a question of the director?
Councillor Stadmiller.
Yep. If we do stray away from the biodiversity plan and go down the path that Councillor Flannery has proposed here, what sort of saving do you think that will be in both time and money?
Unfortunately, I don't. As I understand it, there's not a great deal to be saved at the assessment stage. The main difference is more in the outcome. So a species impact statement doesn't necessarily result in you having to buy or generate credits because it's a negotiation process with the state government. So there are other ways that you can offset the impact that you're having.
Thank you for that. Now, the next question is to the mover, which was Councillor Blackwell. Do you accept that amendment?
Yes.
Okay, that amendment becomes part.
I have a question.
That amendment will have to be now put to council to accept the amendment. Go to the. No, it's been accepted by the mover, so it's part. It's part of the recommendation.
And a seconder.
And a seconder. No, it doesn't have to be accepted by the seconder. It just has to be accepted by the mover, I think. So, having said that, is there any other speakers who would like to speak against the recommendation as it now stands? No? In that case, I'll put the recommendation that's in front of us, councillors. All those in favour? Against? Councillor Dodd and Councillor Foreman. Thank you, councillors. Takes me to item 12.20, which is Hilltops Council Active Transport Plan. There's a significant report there, and the recommendation is that council receive and note the report and place the Hilltops Council Active Transport Plan on public exhibition and invite submission for 28 days. You'll have a mover. Moved, Councillor Langford, thank you.
I've lost the page, sorry.
Sorry,
Just a minute.
Councillor 840.
Yeah, next page.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Backwell, thank you.
Question, through the, sorry.
Councillor Langford, would you like to speak to the item as the mover?
Yes, I think the plan looks good. Whilst I'm in favour of it, I'm a little bit concerned about the amount of money that's been put aside.
Is that a question to, or just a comment on?
Well, it's just a comment.
Okay. Yep, thank you then. A question from Councillor Flannery was the next order.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In relation to it notes on page 841 that 2.5, it lists the 2.5 million high priority work, 4.1 million medium priority, 3.88 million for low priority. I would assume high priority is 1 to 2 years, medium priority is 3 to 5 years, and low priority 5 to 10 years. Would the director think that's a reasonable?
Yes, I believe that's a reasonable assumption.
And we're spending 1.5 over 10 years, so we're at about 10% of the money. Is there, how are we going to resolve the huge differential?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, similar to the IWCM strategy that returning councillors would remember discussing during the last term, this is a plan that's been some time in the making. It is to guide council's investment in active transport infrastructure. It doesn't necessarily lock council into any particular piece of infrastructure, but it's used in considering our forward planning for capital investment in that sort of infrastructure. Of course, significant additional investment would be needed were we to deliver all of the pieces of infrastructure in the plan. And it's likely that that would need to involve significant grant funding. And this plan would help council to apply for those grants. It's the sort of thing that the funding bodies expect us to have.
So how does this mesh with a PAMP plan? Because we, it was resolved that we develop a PAMP, which I don't believe is finalised yet, is it?
So this is the replacement document for the PAMP, I guess.
So this is
effectively the same thing.
Yeah, right, yeah. So effectively, this will be the basis of allowing us to apply for grants.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
Thank you. Councillor Mackie? Oh, sorry, Councillor Foreman was next. I'm sorry. Councillor Foreman.
Councillor Flannery asked both of my questions. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Councillor Mackie.
This is purely just a statement,
Yep.
but here referring to Borough and Harden townships, walking between the three towns would be unfeasible due to the large distance between each town. So they've really sort of drilled down on what they thought we needed. It goes on, while shared paths extend from Young to Showground area, they did not cover the entire distance to Boorowa. Hello.
Yes, that's right.
A very informative report. Thank you.
It would make yes. Some aspects of it would definitely make yes, Minister.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right then, thanks for those questions on that matter. And yeah. Okay, on that note, I'll put item 1220. All those in favour? Thank you. Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. We go to item 1221. So we skip over to page 961. Item 1221 is waste, fees and charges. Now, the reports and the recommendation is receive and note the report and adopt the amended fees and charges of attachment 1 as an amendment to the 2024-2025 fees, charges and revenue. Now, before I ask for that to be moved or seconded, I've just very, very recently had it pointed out that there's a couple of, let's say, errors in regard to this matter on page 965. One is 2.5 skip bin is dearer than a 3 metre skip bin. The 2.5 is $110.50 and the 3.3 metre one is $104.42. Should they be in reverse?
So, Mr. Mayor, that reflects that the previous prices were not necessarily reflective of a per tonne or per cubic metre rate. So the proposal, following extensive feedback from the community and from councillors, was to revert effectively to the previous rates, adjusted by 10.5%, along with several other charges. So that difference between the 2.5 and the 3 metre skip reflects the previous charge.
So all the time, you're telling me, if I take that on board, that the 2.5 has been dearer than the 3 metre before?
I'm not sure exactly for how long, but that was the case last financial year.
Well, I don't know whether we should rectify it. It just seems a bit odd that the bigger the skip, the cheaper the price. It's, pub test type stuff, I don't know. Then there was another one there, I think it had to do with the horse float, $201 down to 6 metre skip, $208, I don't know. But if you've been through all them and over them, and people are happy that a 2.5 skip is dearer than a 3 metre skip, I just thought I'd point it out. But if you worked on the previous prices, I don't suppose there's much we can do. We can reverse it. I think it's, my personal take on it is, if I'm reading that and I'm in the business and I'm reading and it says it's cheaper for a 3 metre than a 2.5, something's wrong. We haven't got this right. So if it's wrong in the past, how about we correct it right now?
Mr. Mayor, can I move that we follow your recommendation and make that correction?
Thank you, Councillor Stadmiller. So what we would be asking is an amendment to the document, to the charges again, which I don't know how complicated this could get. Whether this matter, I don't want it deferred because I've got the phone ringing off the hook now. When are these new charges going to come into play? So I don't want it deferred. So can we have it that it be noted by staff that when this is
Public exhibition, isn't it?
Through
no, we've got it back.
It's been
it's
exhibited.
been out of public exhibition.
Been here. No one.
I believe, given it's well, it's an existing anomaly that we've applied a process to, but reversing it to the consistency, you can make the choice that it's a minor amendment to make it consistent with an increase in the size. It's only one charge out of many, so you can adopt the amended fees, noting that we flip the 2.5 and 3 metre.
Okay, thank you very much for your assistance, Mr. General Manager. And Council, take on note when I put this to the floor that little anomaly there will be changed when the documents are all put out from the 2.5 to 3 metre skip.
Can I just ask through you, Mr. Mayor, just maybe I'm missing something there with the non-urban domestic collection, Young, Harden. Where is Boorowa's non-urban?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, the charge for Burrawa non-urban properties is the Burrawa Waste Access Availability Charge, which appears under the Domestic Collection Charge Urban.
So should it be under the non-urban, just to make it clearer, or not?
The way that it's presented there is the way that it is presented in the revenue policy.
And can I also ask, is that's now inclusive of tipping?
Yes, so as you'll see, referring to the following table at attachment 2, the disposal fee for Burrawa ratepayers is proposed to return to 0.
For non-urban, yeah. So that rate is, they used to call exempt, it was never really exempt, it was actually included.
It's included in the rates, like it's an addition to their rates levy, is that they pay it whether they use it or not, and then they receive the yellow tag. Whereas,
yes.
Yeah, but when when we were introducing the new one, we added the $12 on, but that was a mistake.
No.
I thought it was a good idea.
No, effectively, the proposition was that it had never been charged, but the understanding of the community is, no, we're already paying for it. So part of the whole discussion was to change it back and then have a further discussion with the community and then further discussion with you, the councillors.
And just one more question, because I always bang on about this, but it's the vacant land collection charge, and I know we pay for the accessibility or the access availability of the tip, but can you just confirm that we can access the tip, but with a vacant block, it doesn't get bins?
Yes, that's correct.
So when you access the tip for your vacant block, how does it work, really? So that's on your rates notice, that figure, and then you go and you're charged.
So that charge for vacant land, similar to the Burrawa Waste Access Availability Charge, pays towards the operation of the waste facility.
Through Mr. Mayor, it's the availability of the tip is what people are paying for, whether or not you use it. And if you've got a vacant block, you're entitled to use that tip, but you pay for the entitlement.
But really, if you had a vacant block, there's nothing on it for you to tip.
No, but that's part of the idea, through you. I mean, the idea is to encourage people not to have vacant blocks, or if they do, they've got to pay for it.
Okay, thank you. Happy with the questions been answered. Do you have any other questions before Councillor Douglas has a question?
So just on the charges, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you have a horse float, bogie, axle, trailer, caged, new rates 201. A few down under commercial loads, so horse float, bogie, axle, trailer, caged. So what would be the difference if I was saying, well, it's household waste, not commercial waste? Who checks?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, the operator at the waste facility or at the weighbridge, in the case of Victoria Street, would be checking the load to confirm that it is domestic waste as stated by the person delivering the load. And at that point, a judgment is made whether it's domestic or commercial.
Okay, councillors, before we go any further, and I started this by asking a question on information I only received as I was walking through the door. I didn't have time to let anyone know about those changes I thought should happen there. And due to me asking the question first, questions have carried on, and I would now like a mover and a seconder for this item, please.
So moved.
Moved Councillor Flannery, seconded Councillor Stadmiller. Thank you. So, having said that, most questions I imagine have been asked and answered. So on that note, I'd put the item. All those in favour? Thank you, councillor. It's unanimous. We go to 1222. Capital Works Report. And the recommendation is to receive and note the report. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Flannery. Seconded, Councillor Davis. Got any questions on this report, councillors? If not, I'll put the item. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. A bit slow. Now I've lost a page. Item 1223. I'll take that as a win, Councillor Flannery.
Yeah, I'll get it once.
Yeah, that won't happen again. 1223, the works report. And the report there is council, and the recommendations receive and note the information provided. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor Foreman, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Blackwell. Do I have any questions in regard to this
It's not a
report?
question, but works have been performed on Moppity Road. I just can't find it. Where there was grading, and I asked about it back in August, grading of the verges. There's since been, the verges have been sealed, but there's a significant number of weeds growing through the asphalt. Has that been viewed? And it's just going to break up the asphalt. It either needs spraying or hopefully not redoing before it grows in, the cooch grows any more ransom.
Thank you, councillor. I've noticed that myself. And yes, we'll be addressing that.
Any other questions in regard to that matter? I have one, which I don't expect to be answered tonight, but I just want to put it out there that I asked at a previous council meeting with the former council in regard to how many graders we had, and I was told we had 8, 2 at Burrawa, 2 at Harden and 4 at Young, and I know you don't know tonight, but I'd just like to have an indication that at your level or just under your level, at any given week, you'd be able to say where those graders were in operation. I was also told that we had 8 operators. So if we've got 4 graders in the Young area and 4 operators and the trucks and a gravel reshooting budget of $700,000, just because I'm in this chair, that doesn't mean I'm going to take my eye off the gravel reshooting program. And I believe if we've got 4 graders, 4 operators, and 2 for the other 2 communities, I think that while things have much improved and people have been noticing it and commenting on those works, and it's all been great commentary and their phone calls I'm pleased to take. But I just need to let you know that we'll be watching it just as closely. So thank you very much for all the hard work you've done in regard to that item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions or comments in regard to that report? Councillor Stadmiller.
Sorry.
Councillor Stadmiller.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just in regard to this report and some mowing around Harden, I take note that the Kite Festival's just occurred, and we've got the Harden picnic races coming up, so a lot of work has gone on outside of the 60k area. But I've had a number of residents contact with me with photos, and I've taken some myself, and there's just patches of land around Harden, which is just being let go. Some of it's as high as this desk, and I'm happy just to get those photos to the director. It needs to be jumped upon. We've got another event this weekend in the Harden picnic races, and within 50 metres of the highway, we've got grass that's sort of a metre high. It looks terrible, so I just want to make that known. But I will make note that the work at the racecourse has been very good and been appreciated by those committees. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Stadmiller. Councillor Flannery, did you have another?
Look, Councillor Stadmiller's raised a few of the issues I was going to raise. I've got numerous photos, and I do thank the General Manager. I contacted him for the Kite Festival, and some work was hurriedly done, but there's still a number of beds that could do with some work. Newson Park, I noticed, was half mowed in front of the pool. There's mowing that hasn't been completed for a significant period. I'm hoping that'll occur before the picnic races. And another thing completely separately, on page 990, it lists Kalinga Road with a K. There's Kalinga Mines Road on the southern side of Harden. Is that the same road? I'm not aware of any other Kalinga.
Oh, Kalinga, sorry. sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll have to confirm that with staff. Yeah, whether that's Killinga Mines Road or another road.
Thank you. And if an inspection of Harden could be, or some maintenance work carried out, it would be appreciated, please.
Thank you, councillor, and thank you, director. On that note, I'll put that item. Sorry, councillor Douglas, question.
Sorry, yes,
Comment.
question. The Young Lawn Cemetery has been noted as not being up to standard. What's the maintenance regime on that?
Thank you, councillor.
Yep. Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, so I'm aware there have been reports of maintenance issues at the Young Lawn Cemetery. Particularly the roses, they were last pruned in August, and they will be attended to again shortly, along with the mowing. The current season is quite a difficult one for the open spaces staff to manage between, the sporting fields and the vegetative growth that we get in various areas. So they will get to that area when they can. They just haven't had the opportunity to do that work as yet. So that will happen, very shortly. We also had some of the roses damaged by the wind, and some have died and been removed by staff and have yet to be replaced.
Thank you for that. And it was made known to the General Manager recently in regard to the monumental cemetery that needed the same TLC, and that was taken out, and it just seemed with the sudden growth and spurt of everything that the lawn cemetery, and we all received those complaints. So again, I thank staff for the work they do. We just need to make sure, and I said it's been an amazing month for growth, and we need to keep on top of it, especially at places like our cemeteries. Thank you, Councillor Henry.
Just on the maintenance, is there a ground maintenance crew in each operating out of each depot? And I know there's certainly a maintenance manual for the Harden Main Street. I'm not too sure if it's still in existence within the depot, but how does the maintenance work given some of it's fallen behind? Is who supervises the maintenance, or who refers staff to maintenance manuals and training without getting into operations? But I assume there is dedicated staff operating out of each depot, and I assume they do have a weekly program and then a monthly operations program. Yes, so through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct. There are open spaces staff based at each of the depots. They do have a weekly and a monthly maintenance schedule. You'll notice on the weekly upcoming work is published on Council's website, and I believe in the media. So that is definitely scheduled. As for the specific manuals for the streetscapes, I will have to confirm and come back to you. I think I can provide you with one if you can't find it.
Thank you, Director. Okay, I'll look around the table. On that note, I'll put that item. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Item 1224, media release and Office of Local Government circulars. The recommendation, councillors, we note those release and note the circulars. Do I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Mackie, seconded Councillor Douglas. Any questions in none regard? I'll put that matter. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. I get to item 1225, committee report. For action, Hilltops Council Local Traffic Advisory Committee meeting minutes. And the recommendation is there, council, that you receive and note those minutes, and all items recommended be formally adopted and placed on council's action work list for activities to be undertaken. So if you've read them and there's something in there you're not happy with, now's your time to speak. Could I have a mover and a seconder before we go any further? Councillor Dodd, second to Councillor Stadmiller.
Question to Mr. Mayor, if possible.
Councillor Stadmiller.
Just speaking to the, pardon me, the station commander at Harden about a traffic counter potentially on Burley Griffin Way near William Bradford Bridge, and how we would go about dealing with Transport for New South Wales to have that installed for traffic movements. From what I can understand, the station commander and fire and rescue in Harden are looking to form a case to have improvements made on that bridge after another recent accident, and they're requesting Hilltops help in doing so, and I can get something in writing from them if need. I'm just wondering if off the top of your head, Mr. Gentleman, if you can answer that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I haven't had that request put to me specifically, but I welcome your contact point, and I can follow that up myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stadmiller. Councillor Flannery.
Just a couple of questions. One is that do we have to, well, nominations for the various committees and whatnot.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, staff will be bringing to the next meeting a list of all the committees to deal with the appropriate appointment for those.
Thank you. And I'd just like to reiterate my objections to the 80-kilometre-hour speed zones that have been enforced at Harden. I went to a dinner the other night, and two ladies from Harden both have been booked on the police officer sitting up on top of the Demondrel. No concerns for traffic incidents there, but bit of revenue to the.
That matter has been dealt with, Councillors Flannery.
Yep, well,
to be fair
I
to
expressed my objection.
I know you did that before, and it was investigated, and the same answer came back from Transport for New South Wales, and I agree with you, but the answer was given, and they're not going to change. So we'll move on from that one, unfortunately. So I've had a mover and a seconder. Any other questions in regard to this report? And I'll put it. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. We go over to 1226, which is another committee report requiring no action, and a council received. Moved Councillor Foreman, thank you. Seconded Councillor Blackwell, thank you. Any questions in regard to that matter? No. I'll put that. All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. We go over to page 1011. It is the action summary report. The report's there, and the recommendation is we note the status of the action plan. Do I have a mover? Councillor Flannery moved. Councillor Foreman seconded. Any questions in regard to that matter? No, I'll put it. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Go over to item. I've lost my page. Bear with me. Question on notice, page 1019. There's a question on notice from Councillor Blackwell in regard to what would be the capital cost of fitting out Borough and Harden Council chambers to allow for ordinary meetings to be held there, and what would be required to fill out those locations. So the question's been asked, and the recommendation of staff is to receive and note the response. To be fair to Councillor Blackwood, would you like to make a comment in regard to your question on notice before I put this?
No, thank you. Just to thank the staff for their response.
Thank you. Okay, I'll put this to the chamber. Receive. Did I have a mover and a seconder? The question on notice. Moved by Councillor Blackwell, seconded by Councillor Foreman. Thank you. So, all those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. We move over now to notices of motion, which there are none. And that brings us to the confidential matters of council. So I'd ask to be the exclusion of the press and the public. And I'd ask for a mover and a seconder that we move into confidential. Moved Councillor Flannery, seconded Councillor Blackwell. All those in favour? Thank you. It's unanimous. We'll now take off the live stream. On the rest of my report. is dealt with in confidential to the public.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. During a confidential report 15.2 24/284 Audit Risk and Improvement Committee, proposed new external independent member. Council resolved to receive and note the report and approve the appointment of the recommended applicant as the external independent member of the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee. Report 15.3-24/285 proposed lease -314 Albury Street, Murrumburra, Selwell Building. Council resolved to enter into a lease with the Rotary Club of Murrumburra Harden for 314 Albury Street, Murrumburra, being lots E and F in the deposited plan, for a peppercorn rent for 1 year with a further option of 2 years, and that the Rotary Club of Murrumburra Harden be responsible for the payment of the utilities for the buildings. B, waive the fees and charges applicable to the preparation of the lease agreement, and C, Council authorise the Mayor and General Manager to execute the lease on behalf of Council. Report 15.4-24/286, the proposed sale or lease of 222 East Street, Harden. Council resolved to approve the proposed rental on the open market of 222 East Street, Harden, being lot 8 DP 814285 for a weekly rent, and delegate to the General Manager the authority to negotiate that lease. Report 15.5-24/287 Borua AC mains replacement budget. Council resolved to receive and note the report. B, allocate money from the project to the project from the Borua Water Fund, and C, carry over monies of the capital programs for the purposes of this project. 15.6-24/288 curbside collection service agreement. Council resolved to receive and note the report. B, request that the service provider provide a weekly domestic recycling collection for Young at the said price, and C, note that further community consultation planned on waste services will include the frequency of recycling collection for Young. Report 15.7-24/289 award of contract RFT 000011 supply and delivery of a bulk fuel. Council resolved to defer the matter. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. General Manager. And on that note, councillors, thank you for your attendance, and we'll now call the meeting closed at 7:40. Thank you very much. Safe trip.